Hello everyone, GameGoddessFee here. We are back tonight with more Ace Attorney. I hope you all are having a wonderful day. Alright, so I decided to do this tonight. I'm going to save my new gameplay of Zelda tomorrow and Saturday and Mario Day. We're doing something for Mario Day. Playing Mario, I guess. Playing some kind of Mario game. It may be Wonder, but anyway. Yeah, so that's the schedule. So I hope you all enjoy and thank you all for watching. All right, so I guess we'll get going. How many people we have in the stream? Me? No one ever shows up. But anyway, I was thinking about just quitting the channel. What you think?
Do it.
I think I am. I'm gonna end it soon. Not soon. Probably within a year. Probably 2025. I think. I don't know. I don't know. I might just. Anyway. All right. So let's get into the game. This is my pastime. You know, I love being on stream actually, but I think I might scale back a little bit. I'm not completely quit, but just scale back a little bit. All right, so we have Ace Attorney, Apollo Justice, episode 4, Turnabout Succession, Trial Day 1. You ready, Plum? All right, let's go. October 8, 9:48 a.m. District Court, Defendant Lobby number 6.
Good morning.
So, this was a face though. So, you're very right. I'm Trucy Wright. That's right with a W. Oh, but not right. We're on your side. You can tell us anything, please. What was that? Good morning.
She speaks.
Not bad. But I think you do better with a little smile, you know? You're so pretty, you need to sell yourself, you know?
Trucy, let's take it easy for starters.
Thank you for taking my case.
Okay, well that's a start, I guess. There she goes with the nail polish again.
Is that what that is? Like a mannequin hand. Anyway, that's great, really. It's so cultured. Want to try? Ooh, really?
Ugh, girls. That's right, Apollo. The victim, Drew Misha, was a forger.
I got that green stuff on his nose.
This paint.
There's paint all over.
And a stolen painting was found in his studio. A life of crime, really. And maybe one that led to his death.
October 8th, 10 o'clock a.m. District Court, courtroom number 3. You having the prosecutor again?
Yep.
Well, we will now begin the trial of Vera Mitchell. Is the judge okay? His voice is all raspy and he's looking around all nervous like, the repercussions of today's trial will most likely be felt for a long time and may indeed alter our legal system forever.
Today is a test of the jury system. And the first step towards a new order in our courts.
Daddy's secret mission.
The jurists will function like a jury. It is hoped their inclusion will help the courts to better reflect the people's will. Why aren't there any jurists in the courtroom? 3 closed-circuit cameras watch this courtroom at all times. The jurists have access to everything that transpires. Jurist, Judge Well, and Judge Cool.
And now see here, Prosecutor Gavin. I was going to say that.
My apologies there, Judge.
Jurist today, judge today's trial coolly, if you would be so kind.
The jurists aren't bound by the letters of the law. They don't affect the trial with evidence, but by their feelings. And we're about to find out just what effect they're going to have.
Very well, Prosecutor Gavin, the details of that case, if you would.
The victim is the painter, Drew Misham. He was killed in his own studio. His coffee was poisoned. By whom, you ask? By none other than the defendant, Vera Misham. Objection! There wasn't any poison in the coffee! X-Ton. Someone has been doing their homework. Indeed, poison was not present in the coffee, but on the mug itself.
The mug, residue was found on the rim, I see.
The autopsy report describes the manner of our victim's death.
The court accepts this as evidence. Misham's autopsy report added to the court record. Death by atroquinine poisoning. Estimated time of death 9 o'clock to 9:30 p.m. According to this report, the victim's death was caused by atroquinine poisoning. Whatever.
A chemical compound that does not occur naturally. Lethal dosage is a mere 0.2 milligrams.
What's up, Game Queen 81? How's it going?
A touch of atroquinine in the body is the touch of the Reaper's scythe.
Very well, Prosecutor Gavin. You may present your witness.
I have for you today a simple man for a simple case. A man who witnessed the murder in its entirety. That journalist, no doubt.
It's your boy.
The witness will state his name and occupation.
Right! Well, for starters, my name's Spud Brushel. My job is a lonely observer of the world.
In other words, a freelance journalist, right?
If you don't mind, I'd like to state something here for the record.
Yes, Mr. Bushel?
I dislike conclusions, specifically the aspect of jumping to conclusions. Preconceptions make Park Sandbox of endless desert waste, end quote.
But you're a journalist. You said so yourself yesterday.
Well, that's true, yes. But you must understand, I stand before you today a man with a dream. I'm offering you my testimony in exchange for exclusive rights to the story. Scoop turns Mr. Brushel into that Mr. Brushel, end quote.
Let's hear your testimony then, shall we?
A simple case there, Gavin. For me, the jury is still out.
Witness testimony. The journalist's story.
I visited the studio around 9 that night to do the interview. The first outsider to enter the Altair journalistic history made, end quote. His daughter brought us coffee right after we started. And you know what happened next. Story falls, end quote. No one else entered the room besides her the entire time.
Whole time.
The whole time? Whatever. That's such smart to get it.
That does sound like a simple case. Unless you were the one who poisoned him.
What are you saying, Judge?
Did I remind you the cameras are rolling today? I felt the need to be a bit dramatic.
You didn't do it, did you?
Me do anything like that? Come on, that's like newsmaker making the news, in quote. Or even contemporary witch hunt, in quote. I know, wild accusations for our courtroom, in quote.
Rock indeed.
Prosecutor Gavin sure looks like he's having fun.
I'm so happy for him.
Very well, Mr. Justice, your cross-examination, please. Cross-examination. The journalist story.
I should have gave him a different voice sound for the
That was you. That was you.
Whatever, bro.
I visited the studio around 9 o'clock that night to do the interview.
9 o'clock at night? Isn't that a little late for an interview?
If the great painter Drew Misham says come at 9 a.m., believe you me, I go at 9.
Whatever, 9.
You added he just added words. Like, what in the
It
world?
was probably 9 p.m. for the record.
The first, and as it turned out, last interview with such a prolific painter.
Right. Can you tell us what it was like when you arrived?
The first outsider to enter the atelier, journalistic history made, in quote. What?
You were the first reporter ever in Drew's studio?
Posterity will look back on that day as a turning point in journalistic history. A basically insignificant step for all mankind. But a giant step for that Brussels guy, in quote.
No one on the outside ever had access to the studio. Then it would serve to reason that the deed was done by an insider. By which he means Farrah did it. So, how did this epoch-making interview go?
He started brought us coffee right after we started.
Would you mind being a little more specific?
Ooh-wee! Let me tell you, I enjoy a cuppa. In fact, it all began when I was in 3rd grade. No, wait, 4th grade.
That's not what I meant! I believe I know what their forehead is driving at. This coffee the victim was served. Did anyone other than the defendant touch it? Right! That! That's what I was going to say, really.
Well, now if you've got a question to ask, you'd best straight up ask it. That's what I tell all the new recruits, several times if necessary. Right for a grade schooler. That's my motto. Which isn't to say I can only write grade school level stuff, mind you.
Who touched the coffee?
Dunno. I was in the back, looking at the studio's equipment when she served it.
And what happened next?
And you know what happened next? Star Falls, end quote.
What's this about a star falling?
Star Falls, huh? It's like an old telegram. Send money over.
Zowie! You don't know? That's like a journalism code word. An important personage passes away. A star falls. Get it?
But there's no gravity in space, is there? I wouldn't think stars could fall, really.
Does this matter?
Oh boy, this is good stuff. Good stuff. How about star breaks? Nah, lacks punch. I know. Star dies. Nah, lacks imagination. Of course, you could go with Drew dies. Straight to the point. I like it.
I think we need to hear about something a little more substantial.
Okay, the moment of death versus
How was
coffee.
the store's coffee?
What is the store's coffee?
Did the store enjoy it? Was the store drinking that junk?
What's a store? What is they talking about? A store.
That's a joke answer, don't pick it.
Moment of death. Which one? Moment of death.
I have no idea, I guess.
Let's do that.
About when Mr. Misham passed away.
Ooh boy, what a scene that was. He puts his coffee mug down with a crash, right?
Yes, and then?
Then the cold finger of death touches his spine. Life's flame sputters and fails. So cold was that touch, he could do naught but tremble uncontrollably. Actually, Life's flame is a little tired. Life's river froze over. Yes, that's a go.
I think he's starting his article already.
Could you describe that a little more simply?
Well, as you can imagine, I was pretty surprised. He hit the floor, as they say, or the seizure is final performance, end quote.
Atrocanine poison paralyzes the central nervous system. Your body arches back like a bow. Limbs tremble.
That's quite enough for that. Some of us want to be able to sleep tonight.
Oh yeah? Well, I want details. Lots of juicy details.
He right on
For
his
that,
own.
you can listen to our last year's hit single, Atrocanine, My Love, by the Governors, available at all major music outlets.
It's on Apple Music.
It's on Apple Music. Hey, subscribe to the Governors on Apple Music.
The point here is that the victim died of atrocanine poisoning. Well, Mr. Justice, how did you find that testimony?
That junk was stupid. Get him off the witness stand.
Not important, huh?
Well, as an account of the moment of the victim's death, I'd say it's very important. Please add it to the testimony.
Very well. The court requests the witness add this account to his testimony.
Those spasms. That was definitely death by poison.
You say it was definitely death by poison. How can you be so sure?
Hey, look, I'm a journalist. I've seen lots of things. And I've had more than my share of experience with so-called poisonings. Man eats fishy fish, goes bye-bye, end quote.
Food poisoning doesn't count. Should I get him to talk about something else? Yes. The Stars coffee.
That's what they've been talking about, the Stars coffee, so let's ask about that.
You say Mr. Misham had the coffee too. But did you actually see him drink the coffee?
Of course! He who sees it wins, but he who says it wins bigger, end quote. I live in a man sees doggy dog and writes about it world, yet? I guess I can't say I saw him drink it, really. He had one so-called sip, if that. Man puts lip to mug, drinks, end quote.
That poison is quite virulent. What's that word?
Got 5 dictionary plays again.
Virulent, I hear.
My stomach did a so-called somersault. Since I'd gulped down that coffee without so much as a second glance at it. Wait, maybe something's there. Some kind of so-called trick. Anyone want to venture a guess for the record?
Does this guy have a pause button?
Well, Mr. Justice, did you find that testimony valuable?
I wanted to smack him, but yes. The victim drank his coffee, then immediately fell over.
Ooh, yes. You can go to press with that one.
Your Honor, this is a vital piece of information. Please add it to the testimony.
Very well, the witness will add this to his testimony.
Vital, right. He had one sip, if that. The next moment, he was on the floor.
So he either took a sip or he didn't, and then fell over?
Ooh, yes, indubitably. That's just like that. Wham, bam.
So Mr. Misham drank the coffee and fell over immediately. I think Bush was telling the truth, too. Should I get him to talk about something else?
No need.
No need?
No need.
Versus coffee?
No need.
There's no real need to change the testimony.
Ro, how you doing, Ro?
Hey,
What's
well,
going on?
The problem with the testimony is already pretty obvious.
No one else entered the room besides her the whole time.
Can you say that for sure?
for sure. Sure, I'm sure. Drew Studio isn't a big place, kiddo.
Hi, Ree. How you doing, Ree?
Hurry! I'd know it if someone else had came in.
Well, if they had been hiding in there from before? Even if someone had been hiding in the studio, they hardly could have poisoned that mug without anyone noticing.
You think I, Sport Brushu, would miss something as obvious as that? No way!
He sure makes it sound exciting. I guess that's his job.
There's only one moment we need to focus on, really.
I'm gonna make you come over here and read for me to one day, Riri. The moment when Drew Mitchum died?
Exactly. There has to be something there.
That was it.
Yeah.
All right. I visited the studio around 9 that night. He said the moment that he died, his daughter brought us coffee right after we started. He had one sip, and the next moment he was on the floor. Let me see.
Check your evidence.
That's what I'm gonna do. I just wanted to go through the statements first.
Alright, now present the attorney's badge.
Really? Envelope from Mr. Wright. Do not. Oh. Really, the attorney's badge.
It's so cool and shiny. Are you checking the business card?
That's hers.
Uh-huh.
What they say, Mom? What?
Did he have a sip?
He had a sip.
Did he?
Was it? Did he have a sip?
Did he?
It was somebody's lip right here.
Whose lip was that?
Somebody's lip.
Whose lip?
See that there? That's poison.
Yeah.
Don't lick it, Apollo.
Don't worry, I'll be fine.
No, you won't. You'll die.
Look, I know. I mean, I won't lick it.
Who knows what you do when I'm not watching?
The concern is touching, really. Next thing you know, she'll be telling me not to drink coffee before bedtime.
Who does that?
I mean, that coffee be tasting good.
Found at Drew's studio. Okay, what are we doing? What's this red envelope?
It's an envelope.
Contains 2 sheets of writing paper.
You want me to tell you?
Okay, so he had one sip of that. The next moment, can't read. The next moment, he was on the floor.
I can tell.
But,
I mean, I basically already did.
this right here?
No.
Oop.
It's the cup.
You think it's a cup?
Yes.
Why?
Because
Mispercent it.
You know what I have a problem with? A particular property of the poison used. Atroconine.
Old Prosecutor Gavin was quite clear about the poison. A lethal dosage of 0.002 milligrams paralyzes the central nervous system. If you drank that, even you, Mr. Justice, would be reduced to a crippling pile.
Why are you using me as an example? Unfortunately, we weren't told everything. There was a vital omission in Prosecutor Gavin's information.
An omission?
Atroconine is as virulent as he says. But death doesn't come upon ingestion, not immediately. That's because Archer Canine is slow acting.
Slow acting?
What?
According to one forensic scientist.
It's one of the most virulent poisons, but it absorbs into the body astonishingly slow. It takes at least 15 minutes from the time of ingestion for adverse effects to show.
If we suppose that the moment Mr. Misham sipped the coffee was when he sealed his fate, then he would still have had time left to enjoy his last cup of joe.
Look, I had forgot she said that. I should have looked at it myself. Anyway.
Why does he look like that? Why he look like that? No!
Anyway, order. What is the meaning of this? If what the defense says is correct, why that contradicts the entire testimony we've just heard.
Well, Mr. Brushel, anything to say? On the record?
Slow acting. Slow act. It was virulent, alright. Even then, it had already begun digging its claws into the journalist.
He's working on his scoop.
Objection!
It's Brushel, Ja. Air Brushel. Let's take a trip back down memory lane.
Huh?
Did the victim really die the instant he took a sip? Think it over. This is vital.
You know what I think? I think that was a not so subliminal suggestion, end quote.
Subliminal. I admit, it does cause a problem if he died when you say he died. I would be forced to say off Witterseen to my simple case. And you would be forced to say farewell to your article.
Come again?
Can't write a story based on conjecture, can you? And as the case drags on, other reporters will pick up the scent. You'll be forced to kiss your exclusive scoop goodbye.
Scoop? Scoop? Look, wait! Just wait a second! Just 1 second!
We're waiting. Out with it.
I think I just recalled a so-called important detail. A revival of recollection, end quote. A story survival, end quote.
Attorney utterly confused, end quote.
Actually, I did notice something when I visited the studio. I'd heard of a poison that takes its sweet time, see?
Not what I've been saying for the last few minutes, apparently.
Mr. Brushel, are you saying you noticed something that explains what happened?
You bet I am. The antidote for a poisonous contradiction, end quote, you might say.
Or, I still have no idea what you're talking about, end quote, I might say.
I figured it out, but only after an in-depth interview. See, thanks to my journalism skills, I know who poisoned that coffee.
That's how you stand?
No.
Order.
As far as I can tell, the witness is standing by his testimony. That Mr. Misham died the instant after he drank.
Of course I'm standing by my testimony. And my dream of exclusive rights to this story.
I suppose it was too much to hope for. What was? Of course he wouldn't choose a simple case. Not him.
Him?
Phoenix right. Who else? Nice tongue. Air Brushel. Report for us if you would. What is it that you noticed?
The court is a critical trial of the juris system. I'm afraid no room for doubt is permissible. You will testify to the court about what you noticed. Witness testimony. What Brushel noticed. Riri, your birthday coming up. What you doing for your birthday?
What are you doing?
When I arrived at the studio, Mr. Mission was at his desk. He seemed to be writing a letter, but he quickly sealed the envelope. I thought nothing of it at the time, of course. Now that I think about it, what if he was writing a suicide note?
So he licked the envelope, huh? A suicide note?
Yes, he had this look on his face. Man's face inscrutable as a quadratic equation, end quote.
Suicide, poor Mr. Mitchell. But that means Vera's innocent.
Will someone commit suicide in the middle of an interview?
Oh, very well. You may begin your cross-examination. Cross-examination, what Brisham noticed. When I arrived at the studio, Mr. Mitchell was at his desk.
Was there anyone else at... Oh my god. Was there anyone at the studio other than Mr. Misham?
Well, his daughter Vera, of course.
Was anyone besides Mr. Misham and Vera present?
Not a single one. Not a cat, not a rat, not even a mouse.
The only person who didn't belong to that studio there was you, wasn't it, Mr. Brushel?
I know what you're doing. I know your game. Attorney uses classic Ramsden phenomenon ploy, end quote.
If you intend to suggest that this reporter is a suspect, I'm sure you also intend to present evidence supporting that assertion, correct? In the meantime, let's move along, shall we?
He seemed to be writing a letter, but he quickly sealed the envelope. Oh my goodness, why I keep on pushing the wrong button.
So he put the letter away when he saw you?
Early reporter gets the worm, end quote. That's my secret.
I'm not sure I follow.
It's the 9th interview. I arrived 15 minutes ahead of schedule. The handle turns, the door opens, and I barge in.
Are you sure that's okay to do? I mean, isn't that unlawful entry, really?
Mr. Misham sure seemed to think so. You should have seen him. He crammed his letter into that yellow envelope as fast as he could. I know a secret when I spot one, and that was one.
It does seem significant. Well, Mr. Justice?
I wonder. It does have the ring of something important.
We can add it to the testimony.
The defense finds this testimony vital, Your Honor.
Very well, please add it to the testimony then.
Hey, why not? My account comes free of charge. It was a yellow envelope. I heard it was left at the crime scene.
Your Honor did press it.
Why?
It's so obvious.
What we got to do, percent?
Yes.
Where's the yellow envelope?
Mama.
What?
Use your critical thinking skills. Mama.
You know I forgot.
Mama. Mama. Really? Really?
This note here?
Mama, what did we find at the crime scene?
Well, we found that little thing.
Oh
This
my
here.
god! Oh my god, just get over it!
What?
Mama, we did this like 2 days ago, bro.
And then we found these paintings.
What else?
These paintings
What
were
else? What else?
what else we found?
You looking at it?
Well, this envelope. I said the red envelope.
No, you did not. It's a red envelope. Mama.
I did say that red
you
envelope.
did not say in that whole sentence. I did not hear red envelope.
I just said envelope. Anyway.
Envelope. Objection! That's a shame. Anyway. As it just so happens, there was a single letter in the desk at the drawer at the scene. As it just so happens, there was a single letter in the desk drawer at the scene. In a red envelope.
What?
Prosecutor Garvin. Yes. Was a yellow envelope found at the scene of the crime? Unfortunately, no. But her forehead. It's easy to mistake the color of an envelope. I guess, but not this envelope. You see, it was postmarked already, 7 years ago.
Well, Mr. Brushel?
I can explain that. Drew, right? He wanted to get that envelope that letter in an envelope. Pronto. Get it out of sight of my beady eyes, right? So he grabbed the nearest envelope and crammed away.
And what about the whole red and yellow envelope contradiction, chump?
Well, Mr. Justice, have you anything to say to the witness's claim?
That night, the victim put a letter that had been written in a red envelope. I think.
Is it impossible?
It's impossible.
That's impossible! I like your expression. So full of confidence. It's simple, really. As it just so happens, the defense team investigated the contents of this envelope with the assistance of a forensic scientist. What? Note that this letter is addressed to Drew Misham.
Oh?
Why would he address a letter to himself? Let alone send a suicide note to himself?
I've been scooped!
Order, order, order! Mr. Brushel, can you explain this to the court?
Oh, my! How could I have forgotten? I suppose this happens to be the best of us. I suppose this happens to the best of us. Reporter gets old, forgets lots, end quote.
I'm still waiting for an explanation, Mr. Brushel.
Well, that's the thing, see? After he put his letter in that envelope, Mr. Misham sat there searching his desk drawer for something.
His desk drawer?
Yes, a stamp. A so-called postage stamp, end quote.
A stamp? Whatever for?
Well, to mail his letter. What else? And then, why yes, I think I saw him put his letter in the letterbox. Yes, it was a yellow envelope, and he put it in that box.
Well, apparently this yellow letter has nothing to do with the case.
Oh, how I wish it did. Just think if that were a suicide note. What a story! Story writes suicide note in front of reporter. False, end quote.
I was saying that has nothing to do with this case. That said,
Yes, Your Honor.
it makes me wonder about the contents of that red envelope. Mr. Drew Misham, I deposited the $100,000. Sign the papers and send in the enclosed envelope with the enclosed stamp. $100,000 is quite a good deal of money.
So this was from 7 years ago, Ja.
So, am I finished here? Am I finished here? I was thinking of, going home to start writing.
I had to state what should be pretty obvious to anyone. But when you catch the scent of a story, you make that, rather unique face.
Come on! Attorney has active imagination. Little else, end quote.
Even I noticed something and my eyes aren't what they used to be. I'm starting to understand what all this perceiving stuff is about.
Judge has an active imagination, end quote.
Please continue with your testimony. Tell us about the scent of a story.
Hey, I'm the one asking the questions here, usually.
Witness testimony. The scent of a story.
Actually, it took a bit of work to get a thumbs up on the interview. Reporter leverages story, gets his interview, end quote. The story concerned a certain case from 7 years ago. That red envelope probably had something to do with it. Say what you will, but Drew's talent was without compare.
So you threatened to go to the press with this story? That's how you got your interview blackmail.
Well, yes. I mean, no! It wasn't exactly black. I mean, I'm not,
Something wrong, Mr. Brushel?
Look! This is my story, my tidbit. Journalist is in for his livelihood, end quote.
I see.
While you have me chatting away in here, what's going on out there? What if someone Wally Wordsworth or Sally Scooper gets wind of my story? They could be going to the press while I'm going to waste.
The court feels your pain, Mr. Brushel. Mr. Justice, let's pick up the pace.
A certain case, 7 years ago. Wait, 7 years ago?
Cross-examination. The scene of a story. Actually, it took a bit of work to get a thumbs up on the interview.
The victim, Drew Misham, had an aversion to reporters?
Boy, I guess. Not even my considerable choice did much for him. And so I finally got my thumbs up, that is.
Maybe you can elaborate on that a bit for us?
The reporter leveraged his story. Gets his interview, end quote. That's an end quote.
End quote.
Go back.
Exactly what sort of story was this?
Oh, a little one, like I said. Nothing more, nothing less, nothing in between, end quote. I might have suggested I had a lead on this particular story, but I didn't threaten or cajole you or nothing, honest.
So a suggestion was enough to get an interview? Mr. Misham must have really wanted to keep it under wraps.
The story concerned a certain case from 7 years ago.
A certain case 7 years ago? Tell us, what case?
Let me say one thing, Mr. Attorney, and you can quote me on this. I can't talk about that case.
Why not?
It's about journalistic pride and staunchness and credibility and connections. Journalists reveal sources only over his dead body, end quote. So what'll it be? Gonna strangle me? Dead men don't tell tales, Mr. Attorney.
He sounds pretty determined not to talk.
Our chances of breaking his will aren't looking good. The red envelope probably had something to do with it.
On the one hand, we have your story, and on the other, this letter. What makes you think the two are related?
Oh, I was just saying it's possible. Call it reporter's intuition, end quote. Hey, I say a lot of things. You gonna pick up all of them apart? Be my guest.
All of them? No, just the incredibly suspicious ones.
I see. Anything else to add about Mr. Mitchell? Say what you will, but Drew's talent was without compare.
Just how amazing was Mr. Misham's talent?
Huh? Ooh-wee boy. I mean, hey, he's a star, man. A star. The flow of his brush is like a great, undulating river across the canvas. Or his paints lights up studio like sun, end quote.
This guy is full of wacky gestures. But that one just now was wackier than usual.
He looks kind of nervous to me, Apollo.
Definitely. I'm sensing something different than before here. Maybe it's time to bring out you-know-what.
The testimony left a bad taste in my mouth.
It all makes sense. Nothing jumps out as ridiculous.
I wonder what this story he's talking about is. It must have been good to get an interview with a famous recluse like that.
Something powerful enough to drag Drew Misham out of hiding. I wonder. Maybe it has something to do with Mr. Misham's art? Alright, you gotta use your special bracelet power.
The bracelet? So we got to perceive something, huh?
Yeah, use your bracelet.
Oh my goodness gracious. Hold on. This thing. Let me look at his, how he is looking.
This took me 500 hours to figure out. I wanted to throw my Switch out the window.
So, what did Apollo say what kind of action he was doing?
This guy's making some wacky gestures, Trucy. The diameter of your eyebrow was 2 meters off. That means you're hiding something.
He looked the same on these two statements here. Well, he look crazy.
Delicious.
He patting his head with the toothbrush there. What do you see? What is it?
You have to perceive to see it.
Oh, okay. So what you will, but Drew's talent was without compare. Let me see.
Perceive.
On that statement.
Perceive.
Is that it?
No. It's stupid. It's so stupid. It's the stupidest junk in this game. The answer.
Hold on.
It took me 500 years. No one would look where they want you to look.
Huh?
No one would look where they want you to look.
No one would look.
Just where they want you to look.
I don't know. Just tell me. I don't know.
It's his stupid armpits.
Armpits?
Yes, it's his armpits. He gets sweaty armpits, and that's so stupid. No one would look at his stupid armpits, bro. I think it's the other one.
Now, that would have took me all year long to get.
I had to take a break away from the game. Yeah, there it is. I had to
Oh
take a
my
break away
goodness
from the game.
gracious to
Because no
life.
one would be looking at his stupid armpits, bro. It is. Okay, that's just bad. Sweat much, Mr. Brushel?
Yeah, well, the man can't help his glance, you know.
It's more than that. When Mr. Misham's talent was mentioned, you suddenly began to sweat buckets.
That?
You're hiding something about his talent.
What? That's ridiculous.
Evidence time. Let's show where Mr. Misham's true talent lay. It just so happens I have evidence showing the talent mentioned in that letter. You forgot the entire case of yesterday. I don't think she gonna get this. It's over. Do 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 do.
Do that again. That's one of them pictures, is it?
Which one?
I guess the unfinished one.
Well, since you forgot the case, I'll just give it to you. It's a forgery.
Yeah, they all. Hold on. The one that was behind the desk.
Yeah. That's not the one. You was just on it.
It was this one.
Yeah.
Anyway.
This painting was found in Mr. Misham's studio. There are two problems with this painting. The first is it wasn't painted by Mr. Misham. The second is that there was another painting in the studio, which looked exactly like this one, except it was only half done. Then we have a letter discussing a payment of $100,000, which suggests a certain business operation. The business of making forgeries!
Whoa!
Is that his necktie?
His ties.
Goodness gracious.
That is all, Your Honor.
Everyone, please, everyone! Can we keep this private, please? This is my story, my scoop!
Poetry, that's a serious crime.
Drew Misham is known as an artist these days, but there were rumors he dabbled in another kind of art until a few years back.
Another art meaning forgery?
Drew Misham was talented, alright? Talented at making precise, detailed fakes. The fact that certain criminal elements were quick to discover.
Criminal elements? What? You can't seriously be talking about...
Exactly. I'm talking about forging evidence. The rumor started circulating 7 years ago.
7 years ago? So are we to understand that this letter, this payment of $100,000 was for...
Exactly. Forge evidence. That's tiny profit. End quote.
Order. Why, it's like our victim was living a double life.
Aha! This is my chance! So the victim had ties to the criminal world, right? He could have had plenty of enemies we know nothing about!
Objection!
This is my first time hearing of this criminal world. We certainly found no criminal connections when we conducted our investigation.
Objection!
But how do you explain all the money? You have to admit there's a possibility of some illegal activity here.
Objection!
But there's no proof tying this letter to our case. Our case was and remains simple from the beginning. Only the defendant could have poisoned that mug that night. And you, of course.
Hey! The only thing I poison is my pen when I'm writing reviews.
Mr. Brusher, your testimony to this point has been quite unreliable. It doesn't speak well of your reporting acumen.
What are you talking about? My journalism is rock solid. Journalism so solid you can stand on an elephant on it. End quote.
In any case, let's hear a summarized recap of your testimony. If we can ascertain the situation... What?
Ascertain.
By situation in that studio from the recap, the trial is over. Apollo, what's he talking about?
The cross-examination showed Mr. Brusher didn't have reason or means to poison him. As long as there's no other suspects, then the killer had to be Vera. That's what. That's what This next testimony is our last chance.
Mr. Brusher, Mr. Brusher, your testimony, please. Witness testimony. The interview, a recap.
The only other person in the studio that night was the defendant. It was Vera who poured the coffee. She admitted as much herself. The only thing that touched Drew's lips during the interview was that mug. And nothing left that studio after he died. Nothing. Clearly, the only one who could have poisoned him was his daughter.
Nice testimony. Clear, distinct, and without room for doubt.
Ah, shucks. You really think so?
I believe this clarifies the situation that night. Very well, Mr. Justice, you may begin your final cross-examination.
Right. I still have one trump card left to play. And I won't let this trial win until I use it. Trucy, call your dad. Yeah, your dad.
Cross-examination. The interview, a recap. The only other person in the studio that night was the defendant. Did we already go over this?
Nope. But that doesn't prove Farrah poisoned it.
Objection!
How many times have we heard that one there, forehead? The poison reached its victim via that coffee mug. From where did that coffee come? Ugh. Not to beat a dead horse again and again, but perhaps you could fill us in.
I'm on it. You need a horse beat? I'm your man.
It was Vera who poured the coffee. She admitted as much herself.
And you witnessed her pouring the coffee?
Of course I didn't witness it. When she came in with that tray, the coffee was already poured and steaming.
Let's not forget the defendant has admitted to pouring the coffee herself. I heard her statement. I poured, I served, and I killed.
What?
The last part was just a little joke. I don't think I'm going to get anywhere with this coffee mug. I need to find another weak spot in this case.
The only thing that touched Drew's lips during the interview was that mug.
You sure about that?
Well, to be really precise, I was basically gobbling mint candies the whole time.
One of those candies might have been poisoned! Yet, at the time of the autopsy, no fresh fragments of mint filled the room. Fragrance. And no mint residue was found. It was a long shot anyway. Don't tell me you're still trying to prove this. You think the victim ate, drank, or otherwise ingested something other than coffee?
Well, Mr. Justice, you should have some proof.
The possibility is there. I can feel it. Just maybe not prove it. Not yet. And possibility isn't going to cut it. Not now! Mr. Misham ingested that poison via a route other than the coffee.
Did he say he licked the envelope? Or that thing, that picture frame? If that picture frame was.
Proof. Why did you do this? It's possible. I gotta risk it.
Oh, excellent. Let's see your proof then. This was wrong. That was wrong.
That was so wrong.
Please show us your evidence. But evidence shows that the victim was poisoned via his coffee mug.
You can try it. You can try it.
Take that!
They said nope.
Must I explain this over and over and over? We don't need possibilities here at Forehead. We need proof. I know that! You should also know that every proof has its moment. Perhaps you're a bit early.
I can tell you what we know at this point. The victim put nothing to his mouth but that coffee mug.
Ugh, another hole in this case that needs plugging before I can prove anything. But first things first, I'd better uncover a weak spot before I try to strike again.
On with the cross-examination. I'm surprised they didn't take any points. And nothing left the studio after he died. Nothing. Did we do this?
Nope. Not one thing? You sure?
Yep, sure as I sure can be. Well, with one exception.
One exception? What?
Journalist Sparks Brush, who does interview, leaves studio, end quote. Come on! It's a joke, get it? Not funny, I know, but still.
Did something leave the studio that night? Why does that sound familiar? Where have I heard something like that before?
Now that we've proven our witness is a comedian of sorts, I'd like to turn to our defense attorney before returning to the testimony. Do you have any idea what, if anything, might have left the studio that night?
That's one thing. It's me, Detective Columbo. Detective Columbo. Taking the case, Paulo.
What left the studio that night?
Yellow? Yellow?
With that badge? I was just playing.
No.
What left?
He was talking about something earlier.
He said that he put an envelope in this thing here.
But it's empty.
When did she give? She gave us that at the detention center.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing else.
Well, did you have your coffee this morning? Did you have your coffee?
Yes, I did.
Why you can't think?
Whatever. Him?
No. He was talking about how he put a yellow envelope in a letterbox.
Yeah.
And now the letterbox is empty.
That's what I said. The letterbox. He put something in the letterbox.
Okay.
And then he said it was empty. Y'all remember you said that, right?
Now let's play the game. Do you want me to say, oh yes, mother, it's the letterbox?
Y'all see this?
I'm just saying,
Hey!
like you came to the conclusion.
Gosh.
You came to the conclusion.
I said the letterbox. It's empty.
Yes, it's empty.
You act like I was wrong or
No,
something.
that's not what. Okay, I gotta stay. No. I was like, it's empty, as in you're right. It's the letter.
Nah, you didn't say it like I was right. You was
No,
like,
I said it's empty.
anyway.
As in I was affirming, it is empty.
Nah, you said it like I was wrong. Like I was way off.
I think one thing might very well have left the studio that night, actually. A certain something that's vanished from the crime scene.
By what you mean?
Oh, wait.
Something other than our witness?
Of course. Oh, tell me, Baramisham. Believe me, any comic relief I might provide is entirely unintentional.
Then let's see what you got for us, Mr. Justice.
Well, this thing wasn't at the scene of the crime, so I can't show it to you. But I do have evidence that shows how it could have been taken from the scene. This is the only link between that studio and the outside world.
A letterbox?
What did Mr. Brushu just tell us? When he entered the studio on the night of the murder, the victim had just finished writing a letter.
Yeah, I said that, and yeah, it was true.
Furthermore, he went on to tell us that he put the letter in a yellow envelope and put it in the letterbox.
Oh,
But that very same letterbox was empty. In other words, that night, the yellow envelope disappeared. Ah, yes, intriguing. So an envelope has disappeared from the scene of the crime. Of course, this changes nothing. Huh?
he has a point, Mr. Justice. What we're trying to figure out here is how the poison got into Mr. Mitchell. Is it really important that this envelope, the witness says, he saw disappeared?
Well, if it did disappear, then something did leave the studio that night. That seems very important to me.
Very well, then the witness will add this to his testimony.
You got it.
I still think this fails to change anything in your forehead. I wouldn't be so sure. A letter disappeared from the crime scene that night. This is exactly the opening I've been looking for!
A letter was put in the post from the studio, but I hardly think that matters.
Nothing could be more serious than an envelope disappearing from that studio. And you were hiding that fact from us.
Yes, well, actually...
I don't argue the possibility that a letter disappeared from that studio. But their forehead, is there a much more serious question before us? Right, how Mr. Mission was poisoned, I know. But Mr. Bushu's testimony has changed, which means the facts of the case have too. And what he's told us means something entirely different now, I'm starting to think.
Let's keep thinking, Apollo. Clearly the one who could have poisoned him was his daughter.
You say clearly, as though it were obvious. But this claim that the defendant poisoned the victim is merely conjecture.
Ah, yes, well, you see... My business, it's all about making the most ridiculous things sound right. A bad habit, I know. Yes, well, actually, I guess this is more a case of ridiculous journalist sounds wrong, end quote.
The court is forced to agree with you. Please refrain from wild conjecture.
Understood and loud and clear.
If only I could believe that.
What do you think, Apollo? Everything he's saying seems so not flawed.
Well, that's kind of what you really want from a testimony, really. I need to keep my eye on what matters. How and why was Drew Misham killed? Vera poured the coffee. That's not going to change. But if that coffee didn't kill him, I need to find what did and prove it.
Boom, boom, boom.
Could have been the envelope. He licked it.
He licked that envelope, he said.
I know.
You sure about that?
Did I read the statement? The only thing that touched Drew's lips during that interview was that mug.
Well, to be really, really precise, I was basically gobbling we mint candies the whole time.
One of those candies might have been poisoned! Yet, at the time of the autopsy, no fresh fragments of mint filled the room. And no mint residue was found. It was a long shot anyway. Don't tell me you're still trying to prove this. You think the victim ate, drank, or otherwise ingested something other than coffee?
Well, Mr. Justice, if you have some proof.
The possibility is there. I can feel it. Just maybe not prove it. Not yet. And possibility isn't going to cut it. Not now. Mr. Misham ingested that coffee poison via root. He ingested the poison in a root. Mr. Misham ingested that poison via a root other than that coffee. Whatever.
He can't prove it without the envelope.
Nah, you was on the right track. I can prove it.
We can prove it.
Yes. Proof is possible. Here goes nothing. You do understand what we need, Ja. Proof for your forehead, not possibilities. Of course. And Prosecutor Gavin, I hope you understand. I'm ready to give you that proof. What did you say? I have proof of the disappearing envelope.
I saw him writing a letter. I did.
Which was picked up by the mailman, I assume.
Of course, which means that envelope had a stamp on it.
A stamp. Ah.
As we all know, stamps come with dry glue on the back. In order to use the glue, you have to wet it by licking the stamp.
Or the envelope.
No one worth talking to actually licks stamps in this day and age. Stamps. Even if you wanted to talk to him, you couldn't. He's dead after all. Okay, so he licked the stamp. But wait! How does that explain the isoquinine on the rim of the coffee mug?
He licked it, then drank it.
If he licked the back of a poison stamp, the poison would get on his tongue, yes. What would then happen if you put the coffee mug to his mouth? Ugh. Those traces on the mug weren't the killer's doing. It was the other way around.
What?
The coffee mug didn't poison Mr. Misham. Mr. Misham poisoned the coffee mug himself.
Order, order, order. But that doesn't, does it?
Recall, if you would. Isoquinine is a slow-acting poison, yes. The poison entered his body when he put the stamp on that envelope. But his time wasn't up until the very moment he touched his lips on that cup of joe.
Does he have the whole book of stamps? You have something to add, Mr. Brushel?
Uh-oh, his nose is picking up another scent.
As I believe I mentioned earlier. Well, that's the thing. See, after he put his letter in that envelope, Mr. Misham sat there searching his desk drawer for something. Yes, a stamp! A so-called postage stamp, end quote. But you know, I don't seem to remember him ever finding one.
Maybe he just run out.
Incidentally, we searched the desk drawer at the crime scene. There are no stamps, not a single one.
That does pose a problem. How will you prove that the stamp was coated with poison?
Actually, I'm glad no other stamps were found. It makes proving the stamp he used was poison possible. Good show, good show.
Was it in that frame?
You can't even prove there was a stamp at the scene in the first place.
Well, let's hear what the defense has to say anyway. Where's your evidence that proves the existence of this poison stamp? Is it in that frame?
You got it. You got it, Knuckles.
I wonder what kind of stamp it was. Was it a special stamp?
We will see the stamp. I'll tell you that one.
Well, that certainly is a cute little frame, and by little, I mean really little.
It was on the victim's desk, Your Honor. Quite empty, as you can see for yourself. I noticed that too during my inspection. So what? Apparently you weren't as observant as you should have been. You see, when you saw this frame, it was missing something quite important.
Missing something?
Yes, a pale bluish stain on the inside of the frame. Isoquinine residue! What? Why wasn't I told about this? The frame is only 2 inches square. The face of the frame is even smaller. Maybe an inch wide at most. You aren't saying. Oh, but I am. Tell me, what fits in such a small frame? A commemorative stamp, perhaps.
Order, order, order. The poison stamp was in the frame?
Impossible!
Prosecutor Gavin?
Why would he put something like that on his desk? Don't tell me he had it there so he could commit suicide if the mood struck.
You know, can I say something? I had a thought, see?
What, Mr. Bristol? And please stop jittering around like that.
The victim was a forger, right? There's a lot of money in that line of work. Forger forges friends, makes enemies too, end quote.
So the poison stamp might have been a murder weapon aimed at him.
Objection!
Oh, rich. That's rich. Leave the ridiculous slice of fancy to the Gavner song lyrics, please. Finally, something we agree on. The stamp was a murder weapon? Nonsense! Murder is a simple business. Who would go to such lengths? No one. Oh, I disagree. Come again? Recall, if you would, the victim's reclusive lifestyle. To Misham hid from the world, he avoided meetings. His only contact with the outside world was the mail.
Mail?
Now, if you wanted to kill someone you couldn't meet, but you knew red letters, a stamp would be the perfect weapon! Ridiculous! Where's your proof? I want proof! Show us evidence that this poison stamp was sent to him as a murder weapon. I might not have evidence, per se, but things are finally starting to come together.
What is it, Apollo? Your fists are trembling.
I think I know what happened. I don't believe it, but I can see it. I think I know how Mr. Misham was killed.
Well, fill us in, Mr. Justice.
A certain piece of evidence points to the truth, Your Honor. I can show you how someone with the intent to kill sent Mr. Misham the stamp of death. It's over.
That red envelope, is it? Or that red thing.
That red envelope, is it?
Yes, he said. Did he send like a an envelope? I deposited the $100,000 in a designated account. Please send a receipt once you've confirmed the transfer. And he said, sign the papers and send in the enclosed envelope with the enclosed stamp. See?
Okay, there you go.
There you go. Isn't this the envelope? The one from 7 years ago?
Think about the text of the letter again. There are 2 pages in the envelope. This is page 1. And this is page 2. I want to draw your attention to one phrase in particular. Send in the enclosed envelope with the enclosed stamp within 3 days. The enclosed stamp, Your Honor.
Ah.
In other words, if I have this straight, the stamp, poisoned on the stamp, lip, gasp, end quote.
What's up, Dave? How you doing?
It won't.
You super late, Dave. We started, well, I've been on here for like an hour and 20 minutes. So I'm glad to have you on the stream tonight.
Now, what if you had done exactly as the letter asked?
It's all right. You can look at the last end of it, and you can always rewatch it if you want. He would sign the document, put it in the envelope, and put the stamp on it, right? Look, so he was supposed to have been dead like 7 years ago. Was he?
Huh?
Anyway. Then he would put it in his letterbox.
15 minutes wouldn't have elapsed between affixing the stamp and mailing the letter. But the clock started ticking, and when the time came, he drew his last breath.
Ah, that's why I did that. I understand. That's how my old job was. Couldn't get a signal. Only certain spots you can get those signals.
And the murder weapon would be taken away from the scene.
Quite conveniently, thanks to the postal system.
Such a splendid imagination you have there, forehead. Let me confirm one thing with you, if I might. So, this poison stamp was inside this envelope from 7 years ago, Ja? Is that what you would have us believe? Really? Well...
It is a little bit of a stretch, but there's a possibility.
Yes, a very small possibility. How small, I wonder? A poison stamp in this envelope? A stamp that then became the murder weapon? How do you intend to prove this seeming coincidence?
Well...
Ugh, it was 7 years ago, and we don't even know who sent that letter! Your answer is silence. I see. Very well. I move to... oh wait. It's not nice to pick on the fallen, Clavier.
Where'd he come from?
Emma!
Well, like my Christoph Gavin... that was her?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, like my Christoph Gavin impression, did I sound like him?
Don't quit your day job. Don't you have a crime scene to be looking after, fallen detective?
Someone had to come dig you out of all this stuff you were making of this case.
Stuff? Yes, yes.
Anyway, you know, none of this will happen if you trusted in science a little more. You can find out if that stamp was in that envelope easy.
Gotta explain yourself, fallen detective.
Glare at me all you want, but science is on my side. It's all in this residue, right?
That's right! The poison detection spray!
Produce the red envelopes. I said envelopes. I'm reading the whole thing. Produce the red envelope at once. You can open it on the authority of the court.
Oh my god.
We have to do this here.
Alright, in the middle of the courtroom, straight.
Let's go to the how you go to the second page? Oh, we have to spray this.
Yes. Oh, where would you put a stamp?
Probably right here or up here.
You got it. It's right there.
Ah, it's down here.
Yes.
I didn't even see that. Well, would you look at that? No mistaking it. That's atraquinin residue. I don't believe it. A murder weapon from the past? Now, 7 years later, it bears its fangs at last.
Absolutely outrageous! Tell me why! Why didn't this murder take place 7 years ago? Well,
That's one possibility. Maybe Mr. Misham figured it out. Oh, figure what out? He realized that the poison... he realized that the person who sent the letter wanted him dead. So he sent this reply with a different stamp. And put his decisive evidence in the frame? Why would he go back and lick it? You're still here.
Can I make a statement here on the record? I, Sport Razor Tooth Brusher, claim this scoop is mine. Drew Misham killed in cold blood by sending a 7-year-old letter, end quote. No, maybe something more distinct. Story false after 7-year delay, end quote.
Order, order, order. I see no room for further argument here. Though I admit this is all coming as quite a shock. To think that the murder weapon reached his mouth after 7 years. Stamp is ticket straight to afterlife, end quote. Uh-oh, I think the witness is a bad influence on our judge. I see no need for further debate on this matter. The sender of that letter 7 years ago could hardly have been our defendant. Apollo, I think we just won.
Yep, that's what I did.
Very well. That was you. Go ahead. Apollo.
I think we just won.
Whatever, dude. Very well. This court finds the defendant.
Is this the bright future of our legal system?
Prosecutor Gavin.
Ticket to the afterlife from 7 years ago. Tickets for Gaviner's shows are invalid after 2 weeks.
But it doesn't make sense any other way.
It boggles my mind that so many people haven't noticed this. There's a fatal contradiction in their forehead's claim. Contradiction? A poison stamp was placed in this envelope 7 years ago, whereupon it was framed until now. If that's the case, then why would Drew Misham have done what he did? Emma explained that! He must have realized it was poisoned! Therein lies the rub. 7 years ago, the forger Drew Misham sensed the trap and put the stamp in a frame. I do not debate this, but this begs the question. Why, 7 years later, did he use that stamp on the knife to murder? Ugh!
Right, I was wondering the same thing. Why would he lick it if he thought it was poison?
Surely, you don't mean to suggest that Mr. Misham simply forgot. He put the murder weapon in a frame on his desk for 7 years and forgot? You expect us to believe he sprang the trap on himself? Ugh. Ugh.
While I admit this is all quite shocking myself, it does seem highly unlikely that he would fall afoul of a trap that had been sitting on his desk for 7 years. Apollo!
I don't think we're winning anymore. I'm glad to see we're all back in the real world now. Welcome back to reality. We've been waiting for you.
Objection!
Okay, then how do you explain the poison stamp that was in this envelope? The poison stamp? Where exactly is this poison stamp again? Have you brought it in here for the court? I see no proof that such a thing ever existed.
Objection!
What about the atroquinine residue, huh? Oh, I agree. That does seem to be atroquinine residue. But her forehead is certainly no stamp. Yeah, but even if your precious poison stamp did exist, Drew Misham never would have used it. That is all.
I believe we've come to a conclusion again. Apollo, we were wrong the whole time.
I can't believe it! The poison trace is matched up! It can't be coincidence!
I'd like to bring some closure to this issue sometime this year. Mr. Justice?
Yes, Your Honor!
Let's review the facts and see where we stand. 7 years ago, Drew Misham received a red envelope. There were traces of the poison atroquinine on the document inside that envelope. A similar trace was also found at the crime scene. On this tiny picture frame, the defense has indicated the possibility of a yellow envelope. An envelope that left the scene of the crime with the poison stamp on it.
Yes, but even if this envelope contained a poison stamp, and Drew Misham, knowing this, put it in a frame, he never would have used that stamp.
I'm afraid you're right, which means there is a fatal flaw in the defense's case.
I haven't been on the wrong track this whole time. I'm sure of it. The traces of ultraquinine, the envelope, the frame, and Drew Misham's mysterious death. They're all connected somehow.
Well, Mr. Justice, do you have a conclusion for us?
The defense stands by its case, Your Honor. We've seen that the logical outcome of the evidence makes no sense, which means that one of our clues must be a fake. Ah, a fake clue. Fascinating. And if we find this fake, your wild fantasies will prove quite reasonable, Ja. The fake clue that's thrown us off the poison's trail is none other than...
The frame.
Oh. The frame. Look at this junk. It's the
The
fakest
fake
frame.
clue that's throwing us off the poison's trail.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's Drew
Louie boy.
Drew Mitchell.
Drew.
That's right.
Uncle Drew. Uncle Drew.
The victim was a fake clue? I'm afraid I don't understand.
I'll explain. We have an envelope, a frame, and a mug linked by poison. That all makes sense. What doesn't make sense is the victim himself.
Objection!
Congratulations, you've completely lost me. So the fake evidence is none other than the master of fake himself, the forger? Makes a good story, I'll give you that. The fake clue, fakes, forgeries. Ugh!
I know that face. I just had an idea face.
I don't know if I'm right, but I'm going with it anyway. What if our forger is the fake? Come again. 7 years ago, our forger sniffed a trap and stepped aside. 7 years passed. Now the forger stumbles into that very same trap and dies. Why?
That's what I want to know.
Because the forger who was killed was a fake. Here we are again. The victim was a fake? One forger smelled the trap. One forger fell into the trap. That's 2 forgers, and one of them was a fake!
And that threw me off, y'all. But Order.
So you were telling us that Drew Misham was the victim? Oh my god. So you're telling us that Drew Misham, the victim, was a fake? Well, if he was the fake, who was the real forger?
That girl?
You'd better not be claiming there was some kind of switcheroo.
I'm afraid you're going to have to back up your story. Mr. Justice, show us just who the real Drew Misham was.
If Drew Misham wasn't the real forger, there's only one other person it could have been. Understood, Your Honor. Forger Drew Misham was himself a forgery. The real forger was... Phoenix right. He gave me this card this one time, Your Honor. I think you might have to lock him up.
Really? Yeah, and yeah.
And also my associate right here. She brought me the card.
I think it was her, Vera.
Vera! There can be only one explanation, really. The real identity of the forger known as Drew Misham is none other than... His only daughter, Farrah Misham.
Order, order, order. Mr. Justice, this is going out on a limb even for you. I kind of agree. I mean, River, a forger?
Let's consider it before you write it off entirely. If you look at the paintings in the studio, one fact becomes quite clear. Forgery had been taking place in that studio for quite some time. The forger was caught in the trap 7 years ago. This can only mean that the one who was caught in the trap wasn't the forger.
Well, actually, that does make a certain kind of sense.
One more thing. Only 2 sets of fingerprints were found in the forger's studio. Drew Misham's and Vera Misham's. If we know that Drew Misham wasn't the forger, that leaves only one possibility for a process of elimination. The forger was Vera Misham. Well,
Then I lost me, y'all.
fascinating.
River Mission? You've been you've been paying attention to this trial so far?
Let's just ask her and be done with it, shall we? Who are you? Who is the forger Drew Misham? Was that an expression of emotion I saw on her face? She's staring holes into Prosecutor Gavin's face. I'm used to being stared at by frauds, believe me. Well, they usually talk to me too. Tell us, were you the one who forged those words of art? Works.
Yes. So the forger, Drew Mission, was you? Yes, it was me. What? What?
What?
The court was in an uproar, and it wasn't coming down. We had to break for a 10-minute recess. The judge think it could control his court, bro. They get in an uproar every 5 seconds.
Right. Anyway. I wouldn't have been able to figure that one out.
That's a shame. That's a shame.
I'm gonna have to go back and look at that one and make sense out of it, because they lost me. They lost me at the end, I can tell you that.
That's a shame. They always get lost when
I'm not. I bet you was lost too when you were playing it. Whatever.
No, the only part that lost me was that armpit stuff. Okay, that was stupid.
Whatever.
That was stupid. Who was looking at that man's armpits?
Anyway, thank you all for watching. And yes, you're watching and you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, I appreciate you to go ahead and subscribe. I also shouldn't mind hitting that like button for me. Alright, we had Game Queen 81, Roro, Riri, and Dave. Thank you all for chatting. And everyone else, thank you all for watching. And like I said, I'll start my Zelda series. When are we starting it?
Either tomorrow or Saturday.
One of them 2 days. Alright, and Mario on Sunday, since it's Mario Day on Sunday. So I will talk to you all on the next one. You all have a good night and take care.